All right, hockey fans, how's everybody doing today? So we've got some fun here. This is my friend Paul from the locker room. Now, I found Paul's channel, and I'm gonna let him explain to you. But I found his channel, and this is the best time of the year for hockey channels, right? We're all
Yeah.
finding each other. It's like, wait. It's like I still getting people, hey, I just found your channel. I'm like 1,500 videos. Thanks, YouTube. You know what I mean? But I found his channel during the Bruins series and towards the end and everything. And he was the one guy, and I do mean the one guy, that was giving the Panthers credit for, it wasn't just 3 minutes of the Bruins choked.
Right.
And so we've been chatting. We say, hey man, let's do something. And then Panthers end up winning again. So Paul, go ahead, give us an introduction to yourself, to your channel, what you do, what you're about.
Well, so I do NHL content. I cover all teams across the league. And throughout the playoffs, I've been doing reviews of pretty much every game after the fact and kind of like watching them, breaking them down, and just having like around 2 to 3 minute videos. And, firsthand, what stuck out to me with your channel is like, because I found you through the playoffs.
Right.
And, when my team just team got destroyed. I was like, well, I could watch someone be joyful, through my tears. But no,
Right.
it was actually very interesting because I actually ended up going through your back catalog, and it was really entertaining. I actually liked the premise of doing a review after each period. I thought that was actually cool. I didn't really see that before on
Yeah.
YouTube. So you kind of get the emotional state of the fan after each period intermission,
Right.
and
Right.
I really liked that and enjoyed that, and we got along talking. And I mean, yeah, I think online people don't give the Panthers enough credit how good of a team they are, right? Because we're not. What are they? A year removed from the President's Trophy?
Yeah. And that was something I was going to talk about. Was okay. Look, I mean, we could go on about this for forever, but
Mm,
if you look at the actual top nine that was
mm,
there for most of the year last year,
mm.
okay, there's three components missing. All right, we if you wanted to call it a swap, you could say Lusterinen has taken Marchman's spot.
Yeah,
Cousins took Owen Tippett's spot, and we traded Huberdeau for Kachuk. But other than that, the top nine is the same, and you could argue at least two of those spots we upgraded,
yeah.
and and so it's just been interesting. And we were talking before we came on about how can we put this politically correct.
Carolina
Um,
Hurricanes fans absolutely hate me.
that's one way to do it. That's one way to put it.
No, it's weird because I guess firsthand, right? I predicted the Bruins to win in 5 games in my series prediction, right?
Dude, they were
Before,
5 seconds away from doing exactly that.
but the thing is, I'm not sitting here as a Panthers fan. So I think that's what some might allude to, that I'm a Panthers fan. I'm a Bruins fan that suffered the comeback firsthand.
Right. Right.
But when I saw the games, even the games the Bruins won, I thought the Panthers were, in a couple of those, were the better team. Just watching at it, the pace of play, and we're like, we kind of lucked out getting that win.
Right.
And it is kind of interesting. People don't take the new information into consideration. I'm not going to keep judging them off the regular season. Like how they're playing now is how I'll judge the team.
Right.
Um, and that's just funny.
Yeah, and look, and that's the thing, is that I mean I'm still seeing Leaf fans giving the Panthers no credit, and
Right.
which is fine. Look, I mean I've heard it all. Okay, I've been making
Mm.
Panthers videos for 7 years. I've heard it all. We have six fans and moved the team, and there's
Which
been
isn't
some.
which isn't true. Which
No,
isn't.
no, it's definitely not. It's definitely not. I can vouch for that. Um, So I watched your preview, so I don't want to give it away, but you're one of the rare ones again that actually thinks the Panthers have a decent chance. So give us a little bit of an idea from your perspective, especially having been a Bruins fan, still are.
Mm.
Um, how do you think Panthers match up that might give us just a little bit of that edge over the Canes?
What I think, so when Carolina's played in this playoff series, and this isn't a knock them, they're a really good team. I love how the
Mm-hmm.
way they're coached. But they've played the New York Islanders and the New Jersey Devils. Now, the Devils, while beating the Rangers in 7 games, that series to me didn't feel like a playoff vibe series at times. It kind of felt like more of a regular season guys going through the motions. It's just a lot of sloppy play.
Right.
I think the Canes have had a little bit easier of a journey. What I think gives the Florida Panthers the edge in my eyes is they're battle tested. They beat the Boston Bruins, who had a historic regular season. I mean, hats off to them. They played really well in that series and like had a huge upset. And then with the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's not like they struggle against the Maple Leafs. They were the more dominant team through pretty much most of those games, maybe outside of a few surges from the Leafs, right? And what I think is going to give the Canes a little bit more trouble, I don't think they've faced this type of forecheck. I mean, when the Panthers are on their forechecking game, it makes it hell for opposing teams to break out of their own end.
Right.
And I just don't think they've faced that. I love Matthew Tkachuk. I love his game. I think he's a superstar. I think he's that X factor that I don't think the Canes really have. And that's not to knock Aho. I think he's a star in his own right. I just think overall with the physicality in which the Panthers play, they haven't faced in Carolina. I think the forecheck they haven't faced. And quite frankly, Bobrovsky has looked like the $10 million man is what they signed him to. Like that guy, I mean, outside of that second goal on Nylander, a short side, which was kind of weak, immediately he reset, bounced back, and made some huge saves in that overtime. And I think just accumulation of things gives me a little bit of an edge to the Panthers in that series.
Yeah, Bob has definitely taken the leap. All the complaining about the 10 million will be worth it if we finish this off. And you know, the other thing for me, I like that the series they went every other day because you know, if you follow the Panthers all this year, the one thing that we've seen is that if we get too much time off in between, like the two games against the Leafs at home, to me they were kind of the worst games that we played in that series.
True.
Because our passes just weren't quite crisp. Because Maurice gets them in this grind of a routine where it's just like this, boom, game. And when we're playing every other day, because we had a lot of grinding during the regular season where we had some crazy, you know, like the game where we lost to Carolina.
Yeah.
If you wanted to look at the regular season, they shut us out 4-0. And it was the second game of a back-to-back where the first game we were at home against Montreal. We had to fly out and play the Canes in Carolina the next day. So we had some crazy schedules. So these guys have just been, like you're saying, battle-tested. Now, the flip side, because I'm feeling confident about this, obviously, okay? I mean, this is different. Like I was telling my members on the podcast today, it's different for me for 96. Because in 96, there was, oh, my God. And you just look at the names of the teams that we were beating. It was like, this is crazy, right? But you look at the four teams left, and I'm looking over here, I'm looking over there. I'm like, we can win.
Yeah.
Like, we're legit 8 wins from, we could win the cup. This isn't a fantasy land thing anymore. We could, and all four teams could say that, but so can we. So give me the reverse angle from your point of view. What, if the Panthers lose this series, what happened?
I think if the Panthers lose this series, for me, it's going to be the overall depth in which Carolina has. I mean, for me, just looking at this lineup, you got Sebastian Aho, you got Jarvis, you got Martinook, who's really kind of found his game in that second round. Kotkaniemi, who was a little bit maligned in Montreal, comes over to Carolina, has kind of found a nice home here. And even their third line, like Jordan Stahl's not going to blow down your doors offensively. Like they have really good depth. I would say 1 through 12 up front. If you lose, it's due to all of their lines producing. And I also say their defense gets involved in the offense as well. They're very, very good at activating their defensemen and getting them included. And that can be difficult for a team to defend against, right? If you have 3 quality defenders, 3 quality forwards up front that are doing a good cycle game, and then they can hit it to an open D-man in a perfect spot, maybe high top of the circles. That's just very difficult from a goalie moving laterally to stop those shots. And that's what I've seen with Carolina as well. They are more than willing to take shots from the point through screens, and that is how they get goals. And they'll shoot from any angle. Like they're not afraid to get pucks on net. And with their size, I mean, like, geez, like some of the guys on the line, 6 foot, like, you know, Aho 6 foot, Nason 6'1", Kokanyemi 6'2", Stahl 6'4". Like they have big guys up front,
Yeah.
and when you get those guys, like when you take away the goalie's eyes, you will produce goals. And it's just for me, Jacob Slavin is a beast on the back end as well. He's an extremely good defensive D man who can contribute offensively when needed. And Brett Burns is still doing his thing. And Frederick Anderson in 6 games played throughout this postseason has a 930 save percentage and a 1.8 goals against average. If he can, if the Carolina can keep the Panthers to the outside and keep a lot of the dangerous scoring opportunities, like they limit that as much as they can, I could see Carolina walking away and winning this series.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm really interested to see what's going to happen is when Carolina gets in 5-on-5. If when they dish it to the point, I'm curious to see are we gonna attack them or are we gonna back off and let them take those shots?
Right.
I personally hope we attack them because I feel like if we can get them, that's their advantage, like you're
Correct.
saying. That's the game they want to play. So that to me is something that we're going to have to do. You have to take them out of their comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Like we kind of did with Toronto. I mean, Toronto showed in spaces that they could play, not obviously as heavy of a game as the Panthers, but they showed that, like in game 2, they came back. And even though they ended up, losing that game, Toronto did, they played a heavier game. They gave us a harder time. And so we kind of had them out of their comfort zone a little bit. I think we kind of need to do the same thing with the Canes. I'm hopeful, and we'll know right off the bat, right? First time they enter the zone, we're going to know what the strategy is. So I'm crossing my fingers that we're going to play aggressive that way because that's one thing that it's so deflating. If you keep everything to the outside and then they shoot it and it goes off a skate, a hat, a stick, off the rafters, off the goalie's head, down his back and in the net, that sucks, man. There's nothing that takes the air out of everything more than, and we actually had one to go off of Bob's back.
Yeah. I mean, Carolina's game-winning goal against the Devils to go to the next round was a point shot. It went off Jesper, off his stomach, off Fat's stomach, and in the net to win the series.
Right.
Like that's how they generate a lot of their offense is through their defense. So I'd actually agree with you. If you're aggressive and you take away that time and space and have those defensemen make that play like a second or two quicker, it's gonna lessen those shots getting through.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Big. So before we move back, I just want to touch on Dallas and Vegas a little bit. Now, people have asked me who I'd rather have, and the one thing that I keep looking at, and I'm just laughing, is that I would say I don't want to face Marchessault and Smith,
right?
Dallas has Marchment and Dadonov, so we're even there. It's like no matter what, man, we're facing somebody.
Right.
So what do you see in that series? And since we're talking, kind of Panther-centric, what do you see in that series, and which team do you think would be a better matchup against the Cats?
That's a tough one. I think with Vegas is just very well constructed. Bruce Cassidy's done a good job of having those boys play a pretty solid 200-foot game. And Jack Eichel, he was a monster against Connor McDavid when he was on the ice with him, and he's very good at puck possession. Marchessault had that hat trick and was really opportunistic with some of those goals. I think a better matchup, it's hard because Adin Hill's been spectacular in this postseason. Ottinger, he's been good, but kind of up and down as well. I would say I would probably want to face, man, this is a tough one.
That's exactly the same place I got to.
I'd probably rather want to face maybe the Dallas Stars over the Vegas Golden Knights. I think the Stars, what was proven in that Seattle series, can be a little bit suspect defensively at times.
Right.
I think Florida's forecheck could be a little bit more advantageous in that. It's kind of tight because I think that series is going to go 6 or 7. I could really see. I'm going to be doing a breakdown probably tonight on that and kind of looking at some of the film. But I would say the Stars might be the better matchup for the Panthers.
Yeah, it's funny because we almost got to the exact same. I talked about it on my podcast today, and we almost got to the exact same quote. It's like, this is really close. It's really tough, but I think Dallas, mainly for me because, all right, Marchment and Dadonov, that's nice, but one of my most prolific videos is me reacting to us losing to Marchessault and Smith in the expansion draft, and I'm
Mm,
just not quite sure I'm ready for that level of even the possibility of that level of pain. That
makes
all
sense.
these years later, that could be what stops us from. I don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
So from
I,
that perspective, I think and I have a feeling now. Of course, my bracket is Vegas. My bracket is Vegas and Panthers.
right.
So, but I can't win my own league, so I'm good. I'm good with taking Dallas.
Mm,
So now back to the Canes.
mm.
You talked about Freddie Anderson, man. I had a couple Toronto fans ask me, "Hey, do you think they gave up on Anderson too soon?" And
Mm.
if you look at his playoff record, it's consistently every year gotten better for the
Right.
most part, and that's the one thing he has played well against us.
Yeah.
Now, your opinion, what's the key to getting pucks past him?
Anderson, when he's on his game, stays square of the shoot. Like when he's solid within his technique, he's very hard to beat. I think with most goalies, I'd have to say getting him moving laterally is the best thing. But in the postseason, quite frankly, you're facing a lot of elite level athletes. I think just keep it simple. Get hard low shots on his pads. Get the rebounds. Get him moving left to right or right to left.
Right.
And that's how you're going to score because when a goalie's moving laterally, he opens up more holes. There's going
Yeah.
to be more things to aim for and score. Um, I have nothing crazy on that breakdown. I would have to really look at Anderson and see where particular is a hole in his game when it comes to goals scored against. I don't. I forget if he has a weak blocker or a weak glove side off the top of my head.
Right.
But I think just kind of keeping it simple, taking away his eyes, getting. I mean, Florida's got some big boys as well. Get those
Yeah.
guys in front and really just get him moving and just keep pressing him. Where
And
Anderson, and that's an interesting thing you say about Toronto fans. Did we give up on him too early? I think if Frederik Anderson was in Toronto, there'd be no difference. He'd be the same exact goalie. I think with the Carolina Hurricanes and the system that they play and the
yeah,
defensive
yeah,
style that they play, it's far better than
yeah,
Toronto's.
yeah.
And so, did they give up on him a little bit too early? I just, and I'm not trying to make this a Maple Leafs video, until the Maple Leafs actually address the issues that they have on their roster and how they spent a majority of their cap, on four forwards. So they have to kind of go cheap on the back end. I mean, they're just going to have those issues, and goalies will always be the people to blame, regardless if you have Dominic Hashigan net back there himself.
Right. Right.
A goalie can only be as good as the defense in front of him, in my opinion.
Yeah. The Panthers have spread out. They've got almost the same percentage of their cap going to four players, but it's two forwards, a
Correct.
defenseman, and a goalie. So it's a little bit more spread out that way. So the last thing is, and this is something that specifically for the Panther fans. I know a lot of people talk about the Panthers' history in Carolina is not all that great.
Mm,
So part of that is true, but a lot of that is the Panthers getting to the point where they knew how to play this game now,
right.
where we had some, in quotes, soft teams in the last, 8, 10 years, and even more recent, softer teams. And Carolina has just been chugging along at this style
For
for
a while.
forever, it seems like. I don't think they've ever been any different.
No.
So, a lot of that head to head stuff, I guess the biggest thing for me is like, how much of that experience do you think weighs in terms of for both teams? Do you think the Canes maybe are kind of feeling like they've been playing this style a lot longer and we're like kind of like the new kids on the block?
It's so I think there is a thing when it comes to a style of play in which they played for a very long time, right? And I'll take that into consideration. I even took that into consideration. They played this style for a while, and the Panthers have kind of found their game recently. But I'll just say this from personal experience: we've all seen teams that squeak into the postseason. They didn't have great track records, and then they go win a cup or go to a Stanley Cup final. It
Yeah.
really comes down to who's playing best at that current moment, right? Because if we were going to go with best system and players, I mean, the Bruins would have gone further
Right.
than they did.
Yeah, right,
Because
right, right.
Bergeron, Marchand, and those guys like McAvoy, they've been around there for a bit. They play a defensive style, and the Panthers exposed them. Does history play a little bit of a factor? I mean, Carolina is a very difficult place to play because that crowd gets rocking. They really love their Canes. That's the cool
Yeah,
thing about that fan base, in my opinion. They really do support their team. But we have seen teams in this postseason go to Carolina and win. I believe the Islanders won a game in Carolina, and they brought that series back to the UBS Arena, right?
right, right, right.
It's not impossible, and I think the Florida Panthers are going to be the best team the Carolina Hurricanes have faced thus far. You played
Gotcha.
a Islanders team that not really great offensively. You played a New Jersey Devils team that's just kind of young and
Yeah,
inexperienced, and that I feel like that kind of got exposed a bit by Rob Brindamore and his coaching.
yeah.
It's going to be a tough venue to play, and they probably will win a couple games at home. But I think this Florida Panther team is just completely different in the run they're on. I mean, they've made history by beating a historic team. I'm not
Right.
gonna, I hate to say it that way, but until the Florida Panthers let me down and prove to me that they can't rise to the occasion, I'm just gonna say, yeah, I think they can win a good game or two in Carolina.
Outstanding. So you've got Panthers in 7.
Right.
I have Panthers in 6.
Mm.
Now, the reason why I have Panthers in 6 is because um, my youngest son is coming, and if there is a game 7, his flight comes in on game 7. So he'll make it. He'd be here in time,
Mm.
but it would be. I'd rather have things wrapped up in game 6, and he's home. He's coming here for a month, right? He's gonna be here for a month.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I
Agree.
want him off the plane. Okay, sit down, game 7, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna remain positive, but y'all know what I'm saying. Everybody knows what I'm saying,
Yeah.
okay? Because so
I like how that influences your pick.
I'm like, can we do this in 6, guys? Can we do this in
great.
6? Because that could be a long month if
Yeah.
you know what I mean. I mean, literally, the flight comes in at 2. By the time he gets here, it'll be like 5. The live stream starts at 6, and it's just like, so if we could pull this off in 6, I'd be good.
I think that could happen though. There is a possibility if the Panthers just keep on the trend they're going, right? Because with Carolina, right, the Islanders were good defensively, and Sorokin was considered one of the best goalies in the league. The reason why the Islanders lost is they couldn't generate any offense, right?
Right.
I think overall, just defense, forwards, and even goaltending, especially with how Bob is playing right now,
Yeah.
this is going to be a tough matchup for the Canes, and I think. Looking at these rosters, especially when it comes to size, it's not like one team is massively bigger than the other. But the Panthers are a pretty big team. Like Barkov, 6'3", Kachuk's is 6'2".
People don't realize Ekblad's like 6'4" or something. He's
I
a
didn't
big dude.
like. I thought he was big. I thought he was 6'2", but then when you see him more often, it's 6'4".
Right.
I mean, Eric Stahl on your fourth line, that's some good depth, a big body. The Canes haven't played this big of a team, right? Like this big and physical of a team.
Right.
And to me, it's like, can they hold up to what the Panthers play? And with Gudas and his style of play, like he's going to tick off some players.
Yeah. I can't look. All right, buddy. I really appreciate you spending time with us, taking time out of your day. Now I'm going to leave links in the description and the pinned comment to Paul's channel. Make sure you give him a subscription, a subscribe. You know what I'm saying. Check his channel out. He does a lot of good work, and he's very fair. That's what I liked about him. And he's got his fan vote of his home team, but he calls the game like he sees it. So I really enjoy that. So, all right, brother. I will. We're gonna wrap this up, and then for those of you who are gonna be watching this, we may or may not. We'll do this live. Let's see. We may or may not. We may or may not have Billy Lindsay coming up here in a half an hour. So if the video drops, you guys will know. All right, everybody. We'll see you again soon.